Hi everyone, this is Anita. Nice to see you again. Wanted to answer some of the questions that came in, were inboxed to me. But before I answer the questions, I need to do a quick sort of review of what we're talking about here so these questions make sense. In one of the last videos I did, we talked about how we as souls make soul agreements with the loved ones that we choose to go on this journey of life in this lifetime with. And we agree on certain lessons that we want to learn in this lifetime. As souls, we always have a choice whether we incarnate. That's the beauty of free will. And, the reason why we choose to be born is because it's a lot, we can elevate our soul a lot faster in this on earth versus as a spirit on the soul level. So you can have eons and eons of meditation and reflection that you do when you're up there. You can do a lot of good work as a soul, but progress and growth is a lot slower on the spiritual level plane versus on the earth school, because earth is just so much harder that I guess we get more credit for being down here and roughing it out. So that's why we choose to be born. So in doing that, we pick the lessons we want to that we want to work on in this lifetime. And we choose the players. And so if we don't learn the lesson, the lesson just keeps presenting itself in a different scenario. So the key players, the actors will be different, the scenario will be different, the plot will be different, but the key lesson that we're supposed to learn will be the same. So if we don't learn the lesson, so the question is, what happens if, number one, the lessons that we completely finish learning, all the lessons that we're supposed to learn, so then what happens? That's a very, very good question. And also, do lessons we learn in this lifetime have a limit? So I don't think that lessons in this lifetime have a limit. Now, again, this is just my humble and little research and studying that I've done over the years and my understanding of it. Does that mean it's true? Absolutely not. Like I've said before, please don't take my word for any of this. Research it, read books, meditate, go within and look, go consult the major books of any religion or not, and then come up with your own conclusion. I think that's the beauty of, being born in this body, is that we have that sort of, exciting journey that we get to be on. So, but in my humble opinion, since I've been asked, I'll tell you, I think, yes, we pick lessons, but I don't think we ever quite finish all of them. Maybe we do. I don't know. What do I know? But I think that once you learn the lessons, yeah, I think you do have a choice to check out, meaning to die, to go back to God, to go back to where we came from. And I think that we do have several checkout points that are available to us. But at the end of the day, as a soul, we choose whether we want to go through or whether we want to continue. And I actually, have known people who have done that. I recently worked with a young 33-year-old client, and a gentle soul, and it's amazing. He came to me for individual sessions, and he was taking care of his elderly parents, but started meditating. I mean, everything that, we talked about, he just took with it and ran with it and put it in practice. He did the gratitude journal. He meditated. He did the meditation daily, twice a day. He was already very religious and spiritually grounded, just like a gentle soul. And it's, again, clean cut, healthy, God-fearing person. And, one day just didn't wake up in the morning, and no medical explanation, nothing that was actually wrong with him. He wasn't abusing drugs. There was nothing wrong with him. He just simply decided to check out. And when I got the call from his father, I have to tell you, it was like any normal human being, I broke down in tears. And I happened to be with my hypnotherapy, my theta healing teacher. And again, I wasn't ready to hear this at that point. But she said, whatever work he was supposed to do, he did it, and he was ready to go. And so, it is what it is. And that's all I can say for that. What happens? So the other question is, what happens if we don't learn a lesson and the lessons keep repeating themselves? Does it get harder, and do the lessons intensify? Um, you know, it could. So Oprah has this thing that she's been saying for many, many years, and she says something really cool. She goes, the first time, it's like a little, whisper in your ear, and if you ignore it, then it's like a little nudge, right? And if you ignore it, then it's like a little tap on your shoulder. And if you ignore it, then it's like, whoa, wake up, pay attention. And if you ignore that, and of course, it just the next time it's like the big old ceiling falls on your head. So according to that analogy, yeah, it gets louder and it intensifies, just to get our attention, not necessarily to be punishing in nature, but just to get our attention so that we will finally get that, we need to learn this lesson. The other question I had was, how can we forgive ourselves for mistakes or sins that we've done unknowingly in the past when we were younger? So, this is something that I have gotten from multiple people. And so, what I'll say to you is this. I think, you know, anytime we do something, anything in life, what is the intention behind it, right? Was your intention when you did something was to be malicious, was to do something negative, was to cause harm? Or were you just doing something because you were trying to protect your family? You thought that was the right thing to do. You just didn't know any better. Maya Angelou, excuse me, had a wonderful saying, that, when you know better, you do better, right? And it's really that simple, but we when you know better, you do different. You make different choices and you make better choices. But when you don't know any better, then you work with what you know, and that's really all you can do. Um, the other thing is, we have a lot of this. This is clearly a lot of guilt and shame that is that comes when punishing yourselves, right? Um, Brene Brown, if you're not familiar with her, I have posted her videos and I will post it again. You can go to YouTube and put Brene Brown in there. She's done TED Talks on shame, and she's done TED Talks on vulnerability and one other thing I can't remember, but she's brilliant. If you're not familiar with her work, please go pick up a Brene Brown book or at least go watch a YouTube video. And she talks about shame, and shame and guilt are two different things. Um, Guilt is, I'm sorry, I'm sorry I did a bad thing. She says shame is, I am a bad person, right? There's a difference between guilt, feeling sorry for your actions, and being able to differentiate that you're not a bad person, you just did a bad thing, versus the shame is, oh, I'm a horrible person, you're beating yourself up. And how does shame flourish? She talks about this. And she says shame flourishes when there's secrecy. But the minute you talk about something, the shame, there's nothing to feed the shame, there's nothing to feed it. So it's guilt and shame. I've always said guilt is a very useless emotion. I actually think it's kind of a selfish emotion, because I've done extensive work with addicts in recovery over the years. I've worked in a substance abuse treatment program with adults, I've worked with kids, all ages, starting as young as 13, 14 to in their 60s, uh, that are in recovery or have been in recovery. And guilt is something that keeps an addict, just sort of trapped in the cycle of addiction. But you don't have to be an addict necessarily. Although, addiction is not necessarily drugs or alcohol. Addiction, most of us are addicted to food. Or if we're healthy, we're addicted to exercise, or, excuse me, or alcohol. We have to have that glass of wine, or a beer to come and chill out. If it's been a rough day, to sort of to numb whatever it is that you're going through. And I'll tell you, guilt is one of those emotions that kind of keeps you trapped. I've compared it in the past to having cinder blocks on your legs, on your feet, right? So that's what guilt is like. It sort of keeps you in this self-pity mode of feeling sorry for yourself and self-punishing and self-deprecating, instead of giving you the freedom to really do something about it. right? So if you're feeling guilty about yourself, you're not going to make any different choices or do anything different about it. Which again, I know we don't mean to do that, but that's the cycle of guilt. Is just kind of keeps you in that mode. Instead, forgive yourself, right? You can't give to others what you're not able to give to yourself. So that's why in airplanes, the safety presentation comes on in the beginning, and they always say, in case of air pressure and emergency, the little air mask will drop down. Please make sure it doesn't inflate. Please make sure you put it on yourself first before you put it on your child or helping a neighbor, because you can't help others if you're gasping and struggling for air, because you're going to pass out. So you can't give to others what you don't give to yourselves. And this is so crucial, guys, because especially as moms and dads, what are we teaching our kids? What are we teaching our children? What are we teaching them? We continue this cycle of self punishment and self criticism and beating ourselves up. Instead, let it go. So you made a mistake. Again, learn from it. What is the lesson? Did you learn from it? Punishing yourself, feeling sorry for yourself, not even so much feeling sorry for yourself, but feeling bad about something. What are you possibly accomplishing from that? You're making yourself depressed. You're creating anxiety. You're losing sleep. You're creating health issues in terms of blood pressure issues. And not to mention, if you're lucky enough to be with family, they're gonna sit and worry about you. So then they're worrying, and they're stressed because you're not okay. Instead, let it go. Forgive yourself. How do you do that, right? How do you do that? Well, I think feeling whatever emotion you're feeling is very important. So if you're feeling sad, allow yourself the space to feel sad. Cry it out. Journal about it. Pray about it. Meditate about it. Feel whatever emotion you're feeling and let it flow through you, and then literally surrender it to God. Just turn it over. Talk to God. He's with us all the time. Just surrender it. When I have my heavy days, which I have all the time, I'm not immune and I'm not leading a perfect life. I meditate, or I will paint, or I will go swim laps. And I do that on my good days, and I do that on my bad days. Either way, if I'm feeling something, I'm going to feel the emotion and let it through me. Or I will channel it out, through one of those three things. In the past, I didn't do such healthy things. If I was having a rough day, guess what? I was reaching for that hamburger or that potato chips or chocolate. Oh, love those chocolates, right? And I needed to feed the pain, and in that, no one wins. Okay. But over the years, and I've worked with a lot of people who when they're in pain, they will turn to things like, food, like I've said, alcohol, shopping, sex is something that, people abuse. Exercise is a wonderful thing to use. So that's a positive thing. But, anything in excess can be a bad thing. So, our society tends to sort of overdo it with the vices, but instead, just feel it. Feel your emotions and let it through, and find healthier ways to process your pain, process your feelings. Talking to a friend is always helpful, absolutely. But you have to be careful not to overburden your friends and your family members, because again, at the end of the day, they're not professionals. Number two, they're biased. Okay. Number three, as a professional therapist, I am trained to sit and listen to you. And again, because I'm not related to you, I can sit, absorb, and then reflect back and help you. I don't take this stuff home with me, right? But if it's your family member, then it becomes very difficult for me to sit and listen to you, because then I get in this, I need to solve your problems, I need to take away your pain mode, which then I start giving you advice where sometimes all you need is someone to sit and listen to you. Excuse me. So if you really, really need to, I would say find a therapist. There's got to be, good people doing good work all over the world. And so find a therapist, get a recommendation, go look online and go talk to someone, or go talk to, your pastor, or go talk to, and again, I'm not saying don't talk to family. Family is wonderful. But again, just be mindful that, you're not overburdening them, also. But, journaling is a great practice. Writing in your gratitude journal is one of those things that, yes, you do your 5 things that you're grateful for, but then you can continue writing in the journal and just use that journal as a place to emotionally dump. I call it a brain dump or mind dump or heart dump, right? I dump out whatever I'm feeling, and then that way, that's another way I'm sort of releasing, and relieving the stress and the emotions. Um, in addition to all the other positive things that I could do. So finally, in conclusion, all I'll say is just be mindful, that our intention drives everything that we do in life, any decision. So we talked about helping people. Are you doing it just out of the goodness of your heart, or are you doing it because you want to incur karma, positive points, you can go to heaven? Are you doing it so that other people think, oh, what a great person they are, right? If that's your intention, your karma just got negated, and you didn't get points for that. But if that's your intention is just to be of service, then sure, absolutely, you're going to get great points for that. Some of you have asked me some for book recommendations. I think Conversations with God, book 1 by Neil Donald Walsh. Any of his stuff is great, but book 1, book 2, book 3 is a great place to start. Home with God by Neil Donald Walsh is a great place to start. Celestine Prophecy. I can't remember the name of the author, but it's a bestseller for 20 some years. That's a great book. There's also a wonderful book that's might or might not be available on Amazon. That's called The Laws of the Spiritual World. And it's by this woman who is from India, Khorshid. I forget her last name, but I'll put it in the comment section. There's of course Deepak Chopra. Some of his earlier stuff is simple and wonderful. Spiritual Laws, I think it was. I can't remember right now, but again, I'll put it in there. 40 Rules of Love by Elif Shafak, another great book. The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by I can't remember the name of the author, but a great book. Also, you've got The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, classic. Seagull by Jonathan Livingston, another classic. I mean, there's some great books, right? Anything by The Seed of the Soul or The Heart of the Soul by Gary Zukav is amazing. Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle is great. You know, just go to the bookstore and just go pick up something and see if it speaks to you, and then the right book will cross your path. And again, there's no order in where to read them. Just pick something and start wherever you are, and then the next book will come to you, or the next message will come to you in whichever way. Again, I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch and listen, and feel free to comment, and God bless, and thank you so much. Take care.